Hi guys, Colister here with another Namco arcade long play. In this video, I will be playing Dragon Saber, after story of Dragon Spirit, released in 1990. As you can see from the screen, this is a sequel to Dragon Spirit, which was a shooter from 1987, and one of my favorites by Namco. This game has a prologue. Really love how they teased the Dragon Spirit ending music. So, let's get started, shall we? This game has the option to co-op play, and you can control either dragon with one controller. In Arcade Archives, you can configure that with the preference settings. So, just like Dragon Spirit, you move your dragon around and you shoot air attacks and ground attacks with different controls. You can keep the air attack held down to rapid fire, though I do recommend playing this game with a Type 30 auto fire key regardless. Ordinarily playing this game, you have no hit points, and one shot would kill you instantly, as opposed to having Vitality in Dragon Spirit. However, the Vitality mechanic from Dragon Spirit is in Dragon Saber as well. It's just defaulted off on the dip switches. And because Namco Museum Encore was a Japan-only release, the only way you can really play with dip switches at this point in this game is Arcade Archives. You can go up to 4 total hits in this game. And believe me, if you're trying to legitimately one-credit clear this game with one player, meaning playing the game with the default options, it's almost impossible. Because this game is so much more difficult than Dragon Spirit, and the default game options does not help that at all. So, here's the first boss. I'll start by bombing off its, these. Yeah. This boss is surprisingly a little tricky for a first boss. You gotta watch where this eyeball moves around. There you go. If you're playing alone, if you lose a stock, the game uses a checkpoint function, and if you're playing co-op, it uses an instantaneous respawn. They also added the mechanic where if you go a while without auto-firing your air attack, it'll charge up. and allow you to unleash a more powerful shot if it's fully charged. There are also several element power-ups that will change the element of your dragon to use a different kind of attack. It's strongly recommended you use these for, certain stages. This eruption is easy to avoid. Just keep low profile on the bottom of the screen until, the final flare-up. Some of these enemies also release shrapnel upon destruction, so you gotta watch out for that as well. Flashing enemies like before give you a power-up. If you're playing with hit points, you lose a head and a degree of fire if you take a hit, like before. Your element will not be lost in the making. So for example, if I took a hit with the fire ability, I'd still have the fire ability from there. Also, like before, you need to get 3 heart jewels in order to get an actual extra life. This fire serpent unleashes hit bullets if you hit it on any part of the body other than the head. Just so you know. The will-o-wisps in this stage are quite the nuisance, in my opinion. I hate dealing with them. Though I love Dragon Spirit so much, Dragon Saber, in contrast, is a little bit demanding. It's not nearly as good. In fact, some people hate Dragon Saber. And I can see why, especially with the default game setting. Regardless, it is a Namco game, and I love Namco arcade games regardless. Only a few exceptions. Unfortunately, Arcade Archives thought it would be a brilliant idea to start doing the arcade re-releases of the Famicom games that were made by Namco, like they did with Versus Super Xevious Mystery of Gum, which, thanks to Namco Museum Archives, which I have both of on my Switch, I have no incentive to buy at all. And on top of that, it's a Xevious game with Zelda difficulty puzzle solving. And I can't figure out what to do in some of the stages, so... That's on par with Grobda for being one of my most hated games by this company. The people in Namco Arcade that made Xevious and Tower of Druaga started strong, then turned out to be people that didn't know how to sequel their games. Although that didn't stop me from doing a long play of The Return of Ishtar. These skeletal dragons are like the Hydras in Stage 7 from Dragon Spirit. They keep coming as long as their holes are on camera. Some bosses can be damaged in advance as you approach them at the end of the stage. I recommend you do so if possible. Against the bosses that are possible to do so, which I think are only the 3rd, 7th, and 9th stages. Those ground targets will also leap at you if they're not destroyed quick enough. Stage 4, in my opinion, has the best song in Dragon Saber. I like the music on this stage. Talking about the music, there's also an Easter egg where if you hold down both attack buttons while you're starting the game up, just before the intermission opens, you can alter the music in this game to be more like Dragon Spirit's music. And if you beat the game with the altered music, you also get extended credits. If convenient enough, maybe I'll do that in a separate video. These big open-faced flowers suck you in. So, attack them to cancel it, and try to bomb them if you can. This electric element is also really pony if you use it as a charge shot, and if you can accurately use it as a charge shot on command. It's a little tricky to land with the ground attack with it, though. Alright, we're fast approaching the boss. It's a tree with death's face. This boss only takes damage while its mouth is open. So if you're gonna use the charge attack with the lightning element, wait for his mouth to open before you strike. Or use it as soon as the bats approach you. Its waving bullet attack it shoots is also not that hard to avoid. The boss itself is not that hard. Bit of a spooky ending, though. You're going through this canyon pretty quickly, so watch out for traps here and there. The black jewel with the yellow skull will nerf your head and elemental power by 1, so try to avoid those if you can. The purple jewel gives you a temporary shield. Those are always nice. The Earthquake power-up from Dragon Spirit, in contrast, is not in this game. Nor is the mechanic where you can hold the down direction to pull over walls. Which I'm not sure whether or not that was secretly intentional in Dragon Spirit, or if it was a glitch. It straight up tells you that you can do that, though, in Namco Museum Volume 5, so... This boss is tricky, especially without an auto-fire key. Mainly for this reason. Alright, now we struggle like crazy. Stage 6 is the worst stage in the game, in my opinion. I struggle to get through this stage more than stage 9 even. So, believe me upon saying this, I freaking hate this stage. The enemies here are just so unfair. The only redeeming quality about this stage is the music. It's mainly here that really ticks me off. I never thought bullet hell would be so ice cold. Because we're in an ice tunnel with ice enemies. Fortunately, the boss is easy. This stage is also tough, though nowhere near as bad to deal with in comparison to what we had before, in my opinion. Some parts of this ribcage will attack you upon approaching them, so watch for them to flicker. Memorization of where all the enemies are also helps. I'm mainly talking about the strafing spiders here. Alright, boss up ahead. You can use fully charged shots to damage it a little bit in advance. Now, pro player's tip. If you shoot this boss with an uncharged shot, it'll shoot these bullets that'll bounce off of its body, and they can hit you easily. So, fully charged shots only on this boss. And you also need to watch out for will-o-wisps. As opposed to the treacherous Stage 8 where you're in utter darkness, in Dragon Spirit, Stage 8 in Dragon Saber is merely a rest area. And now, the final stage. Which is supposed to be the hardest stage in the game, though I find Stage 6 to be a lot more demanding. This is like an evil castle, like in Dragon Spirit, except this one is futuristic. There are many traps in this stage, on the ground and on the walls. So you gotta be extra careful and really memorize for later playthroughs. These red accented tiles are like Baccaras from Xevious. They're indestructible. And then there are these bat-like enemies, or moth-like enemies, one or the other. They shoot a pair of suicide bullets upon destruction, and always carry a black jewel. So, those can be annoying to get past as well. You can see exactly on the ground where some of the turrets will appear, if you look closely. There are also spears, like in Stage 9 in Dragon Spirit, so careful around them. The laser devices on the walls in this stage are also only destructible once they open. And although the Baccaras are indestructible, shooting them will slow them down a little. Ah, yeah, shield. Nice. This part's tough. Gotta be careful around these rogue floor tiles. Now, Zawell, the final boss in Dragon Spirit, was a bit of a pushover. Chaos in this game, however, is a difficult final boss. In fact, if you're attempting a 1-credit clear without an auto-fire key, this boss is virtually impossible. I purposely took a hit on him to slow down his crescent shot attack, which will immobilize you if you're not playing with an auto-fire key. I've seen somebody legitimately beat him with a fire-type power-up. Though even doing that, it's still hard, because you have to be really precise with your input with the charge attack. So, congrats Namco for making a sequel to a game with a pitiful final boss, where the final boss is actually virtually impossible to beat legitimately. He also blocks your attack if it's not fully charged, with the lightning element at least, while his skull protector is on, which makes it even harder. And then the boss turns out to be the sun god that was being controlled by an evil spirit, as you see in this epilogue. That's pretty bad grammar, even for a Japanese to English translation. And then we get this picture of the planet with staff credits. If you play the game with the altered BGM, the credits will be extended and include the updated arcade chronicle like Dragon Spirit has in its credits. Like I said, I might do that in a separate video. May this not be the future of our planets. Alright, so that was Dragon Saber, the sequel to Dragon Spirit. I still have some more Namco Arcade coming up, so stay tuned for that. And also consider checking out my channel for Pokemon, or Mega Man, or Crash and Spyro. I do some retro Nintendo games. Different variety of sorts going on. So, until my next upload, I am Crolister, Master of Ponage. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in my next upload from here.